So I just want to go over several news that have been happening in the last several days. Something's going to be about federal workers situation with Elon Musk and Trump and firing firing some of them still in terms of a court decision. A campaign regarding Musk. We'll talk about that soon. More news about the health secretary of K. Jr. With the whole situation. You know how he is against vaccines, but I'll talk more about that also. Um, some more news on the Trump advisor regarding the tariffs that Trump implemented against other countries that will impact them. I'm gonna go over quite a few things and give you guys my perspective on them as well. So on April 2025, there's an article from ZME Science. Federal workers say they're being watched by AI, artificial intelligence, for saying anything bad about Trump or Musk. So it's possible that Trump administration, with the help of Musk, is using AI to figure out who is basically bad mouthing Trump in the workplace, probably in emails, team chats, stuff like that. And the interesting thing is that with the whole Trump situation and constant attacks against federal workers, we know they're gonna be federal workers. Like anyone who's working for an employer will be angry that they constantly being threatened to be fired, or they have been fired, or they're trying to go through a uh, litigation to maybe help themselves not be fired. It's a tough situation, and it's been going on for a long time. And we know that for a lot of these workers, it's hard not to be, stressed and nervous of what's going to happen next. You don't know what Trump administration is going to do on a daily basis. It's a lot of things been happening. So I would be understand if they were angry. So some people are just getting tired that Trump, very egregious, is basically using AI with the assistance of Musk, with the funding of everything to keep a watch on these federal workers. So I'm gonna read it really carefully just to read a couple things. In early January 2025, a particular warning rippled through the offices of the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA. It didn't come in an official memo policy update. Instead, it was whisper among managers, passed down from political appointees to federal employees. Be careful what you say, what you type, and what you do. We already know as government workers, whether local, state, federal government employee, that any type of federal equipment used, if connected to the any type of government equipment used, if it's connected to your government agency's network, like Teams, chat messages, emails, anything that's work related, they can technically monitor all of that. They can easily go back to stuff that you deleted. It's not gonna be permanently deleted. If they really wanted to, they can definitely go back and surveil and find things that you said. So be careful what you say. This is not just for government workers. The same thing can happen with private sector and nonprofit sector workers, because if they have proper monitoring systems, they can check everything you're saying in the work emails, work team chat messages, recordings you may have done, etc. So always keep that in mind. Be careful what you say in the workplace. Keep your private life outside of work as much as you can. If if you worry about the situations that may happen. We already know that with Doge, they've been doing a lot of this crap. Now, a lot of things that Doge is doing is obviously, besides not being legal, is very secure, and that's another issue too with lack of security with a lot of crap they're doing. So I'm just gonna scroll down so you guys can read more in detail, more information here. So we don't know exactly to the T of what Doge is doing. We know they're stealing a lot of American citizens' information, federal government employees' information. Try to use the AI to simplify messages and simplify the data collection. It's just a lot of very insecure way of doing things. So the Trump administration it says Doge is exempt from public records laws because they operate under the executive office of the president. Yeah, yeah, I disagree with that too. That sounds like complete BS. So that's basically it. Um, it's It's interesting, but I'm not really surprised. They're definitely doing everything they can to monitor federal workers and make them feel like the environment shit so they can just quit. As long as they don't have to go through a firing process and make things more annoying in terms of litigation and the whole time with the courts, they love people quitting or accepting the buyouts. They don't expect the buyouts to really be properly implemented. Some people believe, oh, we're gonna get 50,000 or 100,000 or whatever they're offering you. Trump is known to not pay his workers. He is known to be cheap and greedy at the same time, not to pay the workers. It happens all the time. He's also been known to not be a good tipper. We know all this about Trump. This is not a surprising thing. So if you're so surprised that you're getting screwed by Trump, I mean, you just should know better. Trump is not a good guy. He doesn't care about you. This other article is from dailydot.com from April 7, 2025. New White House step in line to report immigrants bombarded with calls to arrest Musk. So I thought this was funny. So this whole hotline by the White House to report immigrants, it's just people calling them to arrest Musk. I mean, I'm not really surprised. Musk is technically an immigrant. Yes, he became a U.S. Naturalized citizen, which also had become one recently. But he is technically an immigrant, and he was here also at one point. He was arguably potentially undocumented. Can't find the right 100% evidence on that, but he probably overstayed his student visa, whatever case may have been. Whatever he was doing with owning companies, a lot of things are very fishy. So a lot of people are throwing back at him for not truly being such an American that he claims he is. So that's basically the article. I just thought that was funny. Health Secretary RFK Jr. endorses the MMR vaccine. They use that for measles. Stoking fear among his supporters. So this is from an NPR article from April 7, 2025. That's RFK Jr. We know he's a whole crack bit of just bullshitter. He's a crack. You can say, he's not a doctor. He has no medical background. Is really useless. But we know that RFK Jr.'s family are all vaccinated, and he is also vaccinated. So as much as he sells bullshit to his followers, he knows that vaccines work. It's just unfortunate that a lot of people would do the opposite. What they say to their followers. Trump was vaccinated with COVID-19 vaccine. He used that, but he told people, his followers, to not use it and instead use breach and all the crap. That would kill them. Trump is also not a bullshitter, not anyone with medical degree, but he understands enough that hey, vaccines work. But we're gonna sell this bullshit to you, probably in the hopes that they can kill off some people a little bit quicker. And let's be honest, they want less people on Social Security. They want to eliminate that as soon as possible and have less of a voice that agrees with Social Security, the better. A lot of young people already think they will never have Social Security. They kind of giving up on that. So that's better for Trump administration and any Republican in Congress as well, or with any level of government. That's exactly what they want. They've been trying to get rid of Social Security since Reagan presidency, just like they've been trying to get rid of Department of Education since Reagan presidency. It's something that has been going on. Republicans in general have been trying to get rid of anything that actually helps the public financially and keeps them afloat so they're not poor, broke, and heavy relying on private sector employees to survive. That's why they're gutting the funding for Medicare, Medicaid, welfare programs like SNAP, among other things. It's all to make sure that the poor stay poor, die off, and they can keep all the money in their pockets, aka meaning transfer the money from the poor working class, middle class people to the pockets of the rich. That's always been the goal of Republicans. Anyone who thinks otherwise is either lying to you because they're rich or they're really that angry and would rather just die. They believe that Republicans care about them than realize that they're being screwed over for decades or centuries by now. So we already know the most effective way to prevent the spread of measles is a MMR vaccine, which Candy said in the third paragraph of Atlantic Post on the social media platform, even though he was trying to tell people to use some type of liver oil or the BS. We know that IFK Jr. knows, he knows that it works. They all know vaccine works. We know Trump knows. these people are ignorant and they wanna just tell their followers what they wanna hear, but eventually they may have to say something if shit is going down because people have been dying, specifically children, from measles when that's we already have a treatment for that. We have a cure. Nobody should be dying from measles. It's not that hard. So is in line with all the available scientific evidence on the MMR vaccine. A single dose is roughly 93% effective at prevent illness, and the second dose gets that up to 97%. Yeah, we know it works. So anti-vaccine anger, I'm sure a lot of the ignorant buffoons out there who love to have the kids suffer and die from measles will be against vaccines. They'd rather just letting children die, suffer while they're going to end up dying, than just have use literally the cure for the disease. Now, there's going to be sometimes going to talk about FK Jr. who's trying to conduct studies on how vaccines may or may not be connected to causing people to have autism. That's a whole other thing I will talk about later. There's zero evidence that vaccines cause autism. It's going to say that out there so people understand there's no evidence. But there's been a lot of Republican religious talks about how vaccines can cause autism, and that's not accurate. That's another lie from right wingers, as per usual. So I'm just gonna keep scrolling down. It's a lot just babbling and exaggerating and just stretching out a lot of the comments from people who are annoyed about this, which makes no sense. You should be happy the vaccines work, not the opposite. You want children to live, not die, and especially not suffer while they're dying. There's no point in that. So that's really it for this article. The other one is about Supreme Court rules U.S. must facilitate return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia from El Salvador. It's from April 10, 2025, from the CNBC News. So, unfortunately, we already know the whole Garcia situation. He's not the only one, but he's a major one with the Department of Justice literally admitted that they fucked up and they deported someone who they has zero evidence of being part of the MS-13 and was also a citizen. So he still had due process uh, protection. So it's a whole bunch of crap that's been going on. Unfortunately, I don't think this person is even alive anymore. He was in danger of going back to El Salvador. He was likely to be killed. Most likely, he probably owed money to a gang or a few gangs. I don't know if he owed money to the specific mafia there, but the guy was in danger. So he's most likely is dead. No, most likely he's already dead, and it's unfortunate. And I can guarantee nothing's gonna happen to the Trump administration. Trump will do everything he can to get someone else the brunt of it, but Trump himself would not get in trouble. I can 100% guarantee you the courts are going to do nothing against Trump. But the Supreme Court upheld the local order that the Trump administration facilitated the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Maryland man who was forcibly deported to El Salvador. And keep in mind, all these deportations are extremely racist and xenophobic. They're going specifically after people who are not really white or white looking enough and deporting them, regardless if they're sinners or not. That's literally fascism. Abrego Garcia is being held in prison in El Salvador, but the Supreme Court, in its decision, told the federal district court judge in Maryland to clarify his order that the administration effectuate the return of Abrego Garcia. So this is the family of Abrego Garcia. Jennifer Santa, whose husband Kilmar Abrego Garcia deported by ICE, is worked by a staff member of CASA. At CASA Multicultural Center during a press conference ahead of Garcia's hearing. Yeah, it's pretty sad, you know. Her husband's most likely dead. So that's basically the gist of the article and the BS about this whole situation. Like I said before, I'm gonna keep scrolling down so you guys can pause, read it through. Again, everything's gonna be in the my description. So it's not like you cannot read this article later. Supreme Court blocks order requiring Trump administration to reinstate thousands of federal workers. This from AP News. And this was article, I'm looking for the date. I'll probably find it later. April 8, 2025. So the Supreme Court on Tuesday blocked an order for the Trump administration to return, which means last Tuesday, thousands of federal employees who were let go in mass firings, aimed at dramatically downsizing the federal government overall. So this order just means that the Supreme Court just blocked order requiring Trump to basically rehire all the thousand workers. So in the end, they're gonna probably stay fired. Maybe they'll find local and state government jobs, maybe with tons of competitions, and not gonna be easy. But the Supreme Court just agreed that those people should be fired, even though it's really fucked up, but it's the reality. The order is more limiting the applies only to 19 states and District of Columbia, DC. That's the administration. So this is a second lawsuit filed in Maryland. Yeah, this is a whole issue where life gun workers are getting fired, and of course the U.S. Supreme Court is going to say yes. Doesn't impact them; they don't care. At least 24,000 probationary employees have been terminated since Trump took office, which is a goal. The lawsuits claim, though the government has not confirmed that number, which it probably not confirm anytime soon, if at all. This is expected from the U.S. Supreme Court to agree with Trump on this. They're going to agree with him on almost anything. Don't expect them to be great people. This is an article from the News Republic. Trump advisor releases insane list of demands for tariffed countries. April 7, 2025. So basically, all the countries that Trump has implemented those tariffs, they obviously been impacted, which means consumers going to be impacted heavily by it. Now they want uh, the advisor, which is Stephen Miran, to basically get a whole list of what this country have to do to maybe get reduced or no tariff, which we know is going to be extremely exaggerated and not how negotiations actually work in the government. Yeah, it's gonna go down, scrolling down a bit to see if there's any. Yeah, I was hoping I could find more of a simple list, but not seeing that. So the advisor said that he delivered a speech at the Hudson Institute complete with a to-do list for other countries looking to lighten the load that unfair barriers to trade and unsustainable trade deficits, as supposedly inflicted on the U.S. Okay, these people don't say how tariffs work and why some countries have to have tariffs and why us implement tariffs against them doesn't help the average American citizen. It's more like Trump doesn't care. He wants to manipulate the stock market and put somehow all the money to the pockets of the rich so that the poor working class middle class can never really be afloat. But again, if you're poor working class middle class who vote for Trump and Republicans into Congress, this is what you get. This is what you voted for. Yeah, so I don't say any too much information about it. It's a lot of rambling. Like he said that the countries could stop unfair and harmful trading practices by buying more American products. Uh, Again, it's a lot of BS. Trump said Sunday that he told global leaders that he wanted to raise the U.S. trade deficit because he viewed any deficit as a loss. Though that's not quite how that's not quite how economics works. Correct. Trump himself has failed businesses and filed multiple bankruptcies. He's not a good businessman. I know his supporters think he is amazing. He's not. Again, he also doesn't pay people properly, and he doesn't know how to run a government like a national government. He wants to run the government as a business. That never works. So that's really it for today. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think of everything I discussed. Maybe we can have a discussion, dialogue about these things. Maybe even ideas about what could be done to improve all this situation in the future, hopefully in the near future. And if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Watch this, if you're watching us in TikTok, follow us on TikTok. And that's really it. I hope everyone has a great weekend.